Hi friends, and welcome back to the 18th Sunday dinner of the 52 Sunday Dinners Project, where we are taking this cookbook here, the 52 Sunday Dinners from Women's World magazine in 1924, and we are going week by week and recreating each menu as they meant it to the best of our ability 100 years later. This week we're going to try and get everything done today. It looks pretty simple to me, minus the caramelized nut pudding. Now, if you've seen some of the videos before, you know that my work with candy is probably even worse than my baking skills. But you've given me a lot of really great advice, so we're going to try and make this work on the first time with this caramel nut pudding. Also on the menu today, we're starting out with fruit again as our appetizer with an iced strawberry cocktail. Then for our main course, we have breaded veal cutlets. On the side of that, we have rice croquettes and string beans. For our salad portion this evening, we're going with Simpson lettuce, and we'll be making a Thousand Island dressing to go on top of that. And as I mentioned before, for dessert, we're doing the caramel nut pudding, and of course, always coffee. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. My name is Ashley. I'm a registered dietitian, and I love everything vintage and food. That's led to this project here, and we have been doing this, oh my gosh, for I think 9 months now. We have 3 months left in the project. So if this is your first time, go ahead and check back. We started at week 31, I believe, last August. So there is a lot to catch up on. And if any of this sounds interesting to you, let's go ahead and get started with this evening's dinner. Now we're gonna start out, I'm gonna show you the veal because I didn't have any left over from the last time that Nani brought it down and froze it. So we actually ended up having to order it this time. So let's go ahead and check out, see what we got. Look what just got delivered. Very exciting. Let's go see what's inside. Now, I think I paid $95 total to have this shipped here. So some of that was the product, some of it was the shipping because it does have to be shipped overnight in very careful packaging with ice packs and things. Here are our veal cutlets. This looks beautiful. Let's see that. And I also got, because coming up, not in this dinner, but coming up in a future dinner, I believe we have a soup or a broth or consomme, something like that, and it is veal knuckle. So we got an ossobuco for that, and that looks delicious. It feels like it would be delicious. But that's what's inside the box here. Let's get it cracking. This time I have my candy thermometer ready and prepped to go. Thank you, Michael. We're going to use it this time. I have my 2 cups of sugar here. And we are going to go ahead and prepare it just like it says in the second Sunday dinner, even though I had said before it didn't work that way. And it, based on your comments, I believe maybe it did work that way. I just didn't know it was going to work. I got scared. I let things cool, or the method that I used, just I didn't do things quite properly. So this might work. We'll see if I can get it done properly, but we're gonna add our water to this as soon as it's ready. Let it cool just a little bit, as you guys have suggested, and then we'll add our milk. I think this is about, you can see there's still little chunks in there. It's picking up on the camera, but that's about as, I think, as much as I can get it. I'm trying to crush these little pieces up, but they just, some of them are crushing, some of them are not. You know, I wonder also, is my thermometer right, or is it, it's not sitting at the bottom of my pot. It seems like it should be correct. I don't know. It's all very difficult. All right, let's try it. It's probably gonna seize up. We'll go this way so you can see it. Remember, the seizing is normal, I think, I hope. I think we are mostly fully incorporated. All right, guys, let's see what happens with this milk. It's supposed to seize it up a little bit, so let's not be scared. Ah! We are spilling milk a little. Oh yeah, that is foaming. Well, it's looking like it's separating now. So let's, I think maybe I've added it too fast and it's too cold, because that doesn't look right. Let's keep it, the heat up on it. Ew, it looks like the milk curdled. I hope it didn't, but I'm pretty sure the milk curdled in there. Well, maybe we'll have caramel curds and whey. I don't know. All right, yep, we have all of our milk in there, and as you can see, it looks like we curdled the milk in there. So I think what we should have probably done is maybe temper that milk with the sugar mixture first a little bit, maybe. Or we should have used warm milk, maybe, not cold milk, or I don't know. This should have cooled a little longer. Help me out, guys. You helped me out on the technique to get it where it was, so help me out with that. We are now going to add our cornstarch. And it is not at all lumpy. It should cook for 10 minutes, so we have it here. Go ahead and add it in. I'll get back to you here when this has been 10 minutes. All right, I think it has thickened up with that cornstarch at this point. I mean, you can see it's pretty lumpy looking, so the texture isn't going to be great, but the flavor still might be pretty good. And once we add the walnut meats in there, maybe we will not notice this kind of lumpy, curdled texture in there. I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna reserve judgment for now, but we're gonna go ahead and let this cool for a while. This is a crazy amount of salad dressing to me, so I assume they'll be eating salads just about every day during the week and maybe the following week, and they'll be using this Thousand Island dressing for it because it is several cups. But we have our egg yolks beat there. We're gonna go ahead and add this teaspoon of lemon juice. That's a teaspoon of the oil as well. Do it half at a time. Okay, and then wants us to add teaspoon by teaspoon. We're gonna just kind of go little by little until the full 1.5 cups have been used. Now time for our the rest of the lemon juice. This looks like mayonnaise to me. You know, we've been talking about making the different mayonnaises before, and right now this looks like the perfect consistency for mayonnaise, although it isn't. But we're gonna go ahead and add this lemon juice, and I have the salt, if you can see that, mixed in with the lemon juice, so that is going in as well. Big surprise here. I thought that I was recording earlier, and in fact I didn't hit the record button all the way. I hit the stop recording, and then when I thought I hit the stop recording, I hit record. So now you're seeing just the aftermath of me adding the chili sauce in. Now, I bought tomatoes for this sauce. However, it's what is it right now? The middle of April. Oh, it's tax day as we're doing this. It's April 15th. And these are hothouse tomatoes, and I just don't think the flavor will be that good. So I decided to go ahead and use canned instead. So we have a cup of that, and a half a cup of water. Peppers and onions. We have our melted butter to go in with the rest of the ingredients that we are mixing up here. we'll add our rice to that and make little rice balls. 1 cup, 2 cups. Okay. There's what it looks like. Well, this isn't sticking at all. Not even a little bit. Maybe my rice was too dry, but this concoction is literally just falling apart. Now, I made this rice a couple days ago, so maybe that's why. But I could tell you right now, there is no chance any of this is sticking in a ball. Okay, I have some fresh rice. We're gonna try this again and see if it was just because the rice was too old. Maybe it had dried out a little bit. Maybe that was the problem, or if it's the recipe. Well, it wasn't the rice last time. It's either this recipe, or it says, was thinking to put it, like, make it into balls, but it says make it into a croquette. Does that mean we have to mix it with another binder that it hasn't told us? Like, do we have to mix a bunch more flour or potatoes or something in here, and this is just the filling for it, and it just doesn't give us any help whatsoever about what that is? It's a possibility, but I'm gonna go ahead and say this recipe in particular needs a little bit of help. This is a problematic recipe for a beginner cook. I have some sorghum flour. Let's add it in there and see if that helps bind it up a little bit. I'm just gonna sprinkle until it seems like it's the right amount. I have no idea if this is going to work or not. Seems like it's sticking together more. Ooh, that was a lot. We're gonna stop there with the flour. All right, they're holding together now. So we'll do maybe this size. Very similar to the veal preparation. We're rolling in egg, then crumbs, and then we're going to fry. This says in deep fat. I don't know if you can hear behind me. I've got the fan going and the fat is crackling. It's, again, a mixture of shortening and butter, I believe. And these better turn out well because there is a lot of shortening and butter in that pan to make it a deep fat fry. There still isn't quite a deep fry. It's going to be we'll be flipping it. We definitely need this fat to be a little bit deeper. I'm curious. It's interesting they specify these should be an inch long, and I'm not really sure why. Or if it's, just to make it an interesting uniform kind of, or easily chewable. I don't know. I wonder why, instead of just having the whole green bean, why we're cutting them in inch pieces. Let's see, an inch. This size. I'll be back shortly. It's going to take me a little while to cut all of these up into inch pieces. In the bowl here, I have the oranges, the citrus juices, the paprika, and the powdered sugar mixed up. What I'm unsure about is the beginning of the recipe says to use 6 of these good-sized strawberries per cup, or per sherbet glass, per glass, maybe, not cup. It doesn't say to chop them, so I'm not sure. Are we supposed to maybe put 6 berries inside of this cup whole? Is that how it's supposed to be is it like a shrimp cocktail where we put them maybe around the side and everything else in the middle? I'm not really sure exactly how this is to be done and arranged, but yeah, I guess we'll see. Yes, these are supposed to be separate. Okay, I've answered my own question. I think we are supposed to put down a little bit of lettuce and then some of this dressing, and maybe these strawberries are supposed to go on top, or we put down the lettuce, we put the strawberries, and then the dressing on top. We'll decide at the end once we arrange it, but for now we're gonna go ahead and chill these berries and this dressing. We have our little tiny heart leaf there. We'll put our strawberries down first, I believe, 6, and then our dressing. There we go. I find the Simpson lettuce another interesting recipe because it switches back and forth between leaf lettuce and head lettuce. Now, my understanding is that Simpson lettuce is a leaf lettuce. So for us to cut it in quarters or to get down to the small compact head, there is no small compact head. So I guess we're just going to cut this maybe in, like if I did romaine, I guess it's sort of a leaf lettuce, but that you can cut. It's a little more compact. Simpson lettuce, my understanding is that it's closer to something like this, a leafier lettuce. So I'm thinking, after reading the recipe and looking at this, I'm thinking maybe we'll use romaine instead of this. All right, so we will, does it tell us to cut the core off? Cut the head if large in 4 quarters, a quarter being a portion, small heads in half. All right, so I think probably for this, we're gonna go ahead and do quarters. When I do a heart of romaine, I like to grill a nice heart of romaine salad. I think that's very delicious. I think this will be just kind of fun to eat this quarter. Maybe the half is better, but that is a big half if all this is it's not our main meal. It's just a little salad afterward. So I'm guessing we're supposed to do. I will need a much larger vehicle to put this in. What do you think about this as a serving dish? I don't know. Or when they said quarters, did they mean like this? We're only supposed to eat this portion, but this is a nice portion. I don't want to waste that. I want to eat that. I don't know. This is what we're going with. Correct me with your thoughts. Our veal cutlets have already been sliced down to appropriate sizes to eat, and they have been, ooh, they're very thin. They've also been tenderized. I can see on there the little tenderizer marks. I have half shortening, well, maybe like 3/4 shortening, a quarter butter going right now. And I have a mix of a couple different gluten-free breadcrumbs here. I really don't see these needing to be cooked for 30 minutes in the oven, but we're gonna follow the recipe. I switched skillets out. At first I was going to put everything in the original cast iron that I usually fry things in. Actually, that's when I used everything in for basically every day of my life. But I had to take each veal cutlet out to put a new one in to fry, so I decided to put it inside this other cast iron. I put a little bit of butter and shortening inside the bottom of this so that there would be kind of the same amount of drippings as it would be if I would have kept it in the original pot. So we're gonna go ahead, get the lid on there, and we'll get it in the oven. I have the oven set to 300. It says to cook it very slow. And I'm not sure if very slow might be 250, it might be 300, but we have it on 300. Our veal cutlets onto our hot platter. These really didn't seem to be too fatty. And all the other veal cutlets I've ever seen were not fatty at all. So the drippings in here really, there aren't a ton. It's mostly just the butter and the shortening, but let's try and make some gravy out of it. We're working with sorghum flour today. I have no idea. I've never worked with sorghum flour on its own before. I don't have a clue how this is going to turn out. Those of you who have worked with a lot of different gluten-free flours, I'm sure you already can determine how this will turn out for me. You may have your predictions, but for the rest of us, it'll be a first time finding. Based on the way that it's cooking up, I am guessing this is going to be a little bit grainy, but I'm not sure. Let's get the milk added in. All right, starting to thicken and gum up. I have to say, I don't know. I make gravy all the time prior to this, but I don't know if I've ever made a gravy that didn't turn out lumpy. I just, somehow all of my gravy is always lumpy. It always tastes good, but it's always lumpy. Oh, you know, I said that, and now this one is not as lumpy as the rest, but it might be because of the flour that we're using. The way this looks with this gravy, it reminds me of chicken fried steak or country fried steak or whatever you call it in your neck of the woods. Okay, and we'll finish it off with a little parsley. I don't know about you, but I am ready to dig into this, and I am super impressed with, maybe it's the recipes, maybe my skills are getting better, I don't know, but this only took us a few hours to put together. And usually with the filming and, you know, making sure I'm getting everything correctly, all the angles and everything, and making sure I'm trying not to let you guys miss anything, this can take me 2 days sometimes. And this, I think I started this maybe around 1:30, 2 o'clock. It's 6:30 now, and you know, I kind of dilly-dallied around a little bit ahead of time, so not if I didn't have to worry about shooting, I bet we could have had this together in like maybe an hour or two. Just a quick throw together Sunday dinner. Now, we're starting with our strawberry appetizer here, and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to eat these like this, or like just with my hand, or if I'm supposed to use my fork. The dressing with the oranges throws me off a little bit. And I'm also kind of wondering still, when it said orange pulp, was I supposed to like crush these up, or was I supposed to leave them in pieces? I don't know. Have any of you seen anything like this before? Let me know what you think. But I think what I'm going to do is just take a little piece of the strawberry with a little piece of the orange and eat that together so that I get a little bit of flavor of that dressing, whatever they're calling the dressing, the juices and the sugar that's soaked into the orange and the strawberry together. It's really tasty. This is another fun, interesting one where we're starting out again with fruit to begin with. And we talked about this last week. I'm sure we'll talk about it again. We've talked about it in several others where it's just such a different way for me, or for what I'm used to, and probably from what many people who are used to eating in today's, I guess, standards. Fruit is at the end of a meal, or maybe at breakfast time or lunchtime in a parfait, or you know, you just have an apple or something. But to have a little fruit salad like this typically comes at the end of a meal. So I'm really enjoying the beginning, starting off a meal with the fruit. I really don't know what that tiny heart of lettuce served, because you don't really see it. Maybe it was supposed to be bigger, or maybe they meant to actually make a little heart out of lettuce and you hit it at the bottom as a surprise. I don't know. That would be pretty cute. You finish this up and there's a little heart at the bottom. But otherwise, you know, I had a taste of this. Maybe I'll go back and eat the rest of it later, but let's get into the regular meal. All right, so let's start off with our veal. Very excited to try this. It looks so good. It smells wonderful. Now, we did use some of the breadcrumbs were seasoned that we used. I used 2 separate types, and some of them were seasoned. So that's going to affect the flavor of this. I just realized I'm still wearing my apron. I'm probably going to regret taking this off because I'm probably going to spill something all over myself, but Oh, let's free ourselves up a little bit. Okay. Much better. Anyhow, let's try our veal. The veal is good. It's very tender. I think we probably could have done, as I mentioned before, we probably could have done without the extra 30 minutes because of how thin they were of baking them. We probably could have just left them with the pan frying on each side for maybe a minute or two on each side, and it would have been thoroughly cooked in between. But either way, they were very good. And green beans, I think always a solid choice no matter what type of meat you're serving it next to. Green beans go with everything. And as I've been harping on this for how many months now, it's driven me nuts that they take the vegetables, they boil the heck out of them, and then they slap a cream sauce on top of it. And as several of you have pointed out, it's to make it fancier and nicer and something a little more special on Sunday, because they wouldn't have been adding cream sauce to all these vegetables the rest of the week. But I am relieved and very happy to see uncreamed vegetables, just green beans or string beans. And they're very tasty. And they go nicely, very well with the veal. Now, let's try our rice croquettes. I'm interested to see, because we added flour as a binder, and inside you can see what they look like. I'll show you. Doesn't look like what I guess you associate with a croquette. Many of you, I hadn't really looked up, I didn't know what a croquette was. I've had them before, but like, turkey croquettes, things like that. But I'd never actually made them to know what goes into them. And when I looked it up real quick, when it said just make it like a croquette, it said you could do a bechamel sauce, a flour, something, mashed potatoes, something to, bind it together like that. And I actually happened to be watching a live from a friend of mine who does awesome videos. If you guys have seen Big Spud before, I don't know. I'll link his channel down below if anybody wants to catch that and check him out. But I was watching one of his lives while I was filming, and I mentioned that I was making croquettes, and he asked, "Are you doing a bechamel sauce?" And I said, well, probably should have, but it didn't tell me to. It just said, make it like a croquette. So this is what we did. And I have a feeling if I would have had the sauce to bind them up like that, it probably would have been a lot better. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it'll still be delicious. Let's find out though. Actually, it's funny because it doesn't have that cream sauce in there, but I think primarily what I'm smelling is probably the butter, because it does smell like cream to me. It smells like a cream sauce, that it doesn't have any cream sauce whatsoever in it. So I'm wondering if it's the butter that I'm smelling. I want to try it without the tomato and then with the tomato and see the difference. I would say it's just kind of okay. Probably because we use that sorghum flour in there. It's not bad, but it is pretty dry and grainy. Let's try it with the tomato sauce. Now that tomato sauce smells good. I smell the pepper in there. Well, that's nice. It's definitely better with the tomato sauce, but I don't know if the tomato sauce quite saves it and makes it good. It's not bad. It's just not incredible. I think anybody, if you want to try this out yourself and you want to make the rice croquettes, do yourself a favor and use a bechamel sauce to bind that together instead of a flour or something like that. Maybe a mashed potato might be good, but you already have the rice in there, so I can't see adding mashed potato to bind. I think really where you would go right is to do the bechamel. So this salad, this head of lettuce is massive, and the quarter though looked silly, so I don't know. And the the leaf lettuce that we had that was supposed to be the substitute for Simpson. Based on the description, it seemed like it was too open for me, and I think we explained this earlier. That's why we're going with the romaine, but it just seems very aggressive to eat this much salad. I have our Thousand Island here, and I'm excited to try it out. We'll pour a little bit. I think it says spoon it on top. Let's go with I think for the video, the most polite way of doing this is going to be with some of these more compact, smaller leaves. The dressing smells really nice. The lettuce smells very much like lettuce. That distinct kind of earth leaf. It smells like wet earth to me. But the Thousand Island smells really good with it. That Thousand Island tastes both similar and different to the commercial Thousand Island dressing that you find today. It's very good. I like this one better actually than what I'm used to eating, the commercial. And I didn't know if I would like this or not. It has maybe a little more of a kick to it, and maybe that's from the chili sauce that I chose. I think using this I love a Reuben sandwich. So using this for a Reuben, ooh, that would be really good. If you want to kick your Reuben up a notch and take it to the next level, make your own Thousand Island dressing. Now, last but not least is our caramel nut pudding. And I don't know, I'm both excited and hesitant about this because it looked terrible. We have our nuts in there. We have our whipped cream on top. It might taste really good, but you saw how it looked, but it smells really good. I will say that. Let's give it a try here. I can feel some of the nuts in there. I hope so, at least. I hope the curds aren't that hard. Yeah, I can smell the caramelization of the sugar. So that's really nice. Wow, is that sweet. I will say, the texture is very unpleasant. You can feel all the grainy curds in there. And the walnuts, because I got a nice larger chunk in there, the walnuts don't do anything to hide it. But it is cloyingly sweet. Like I don't know, my mouth just, it was like a shock to the senses. It was so sweet. And of course, why wouldn't it be? It's sugar. It was complete sugar and some milk in there, but I think I didn't expect it to be quite so sweet. I don't know that, I've had a lot of caramel sauces before, and like that smokiness of the caramel, and there's like a buttery quality to it. It cuts the sugar a little bit, and this did not do that even a little bit, not 1%. It is very, very sweet, and the way that milk curdled is not pleasant, and the whipped cream does not do anything to cut that either. It is, wow. If you are diabetic and your glucose levels are just dangerously low, just come and lick this pudding and it'll rise. It'll rise right back up. That is a lot. That is sweet. Overall, I really like this menu again. I thought we had a very interesting balance of different things, of raw and cooked vegetables. We had some fruit in there. I really like the veal as an option, even though it was harder to track down and very expensive. It was a nice treat for a Sunday dinner. And the croquettes, although the recipe didn't tell us what to do, and if you were a new cook and you got this as a wedding gift and you were a woman trying to put forth your best effort in meals and impress people, and you didn't know better about the croquettes, you know, they were fine. But if you did know and you would have used that bechamel sauce, I think they would have been really, really good. And maybe the same thing about the caramel nut pudding. Maybe if that milk hadn't curdled in there, if we had done something a little bit different, maybe the milk would have, I don't know, would it have stayed whole? If the milk hadn't curdled and it had stayed in the structure that we wanted it to, would it have cut that sugar a little bit? Did the curdling affect that? Maybe, I don't know. But I'd say overall, I think this one gets a 7 out of 10 for me. Nutrition-wise, again, similar to the things that I liked about it overall, are things that I like about it nutrition-wise as well. There are several different vegetables in here, and we have cooked, we have raw, and we have fruit in there as well. So you have a lot of micronutrients packed into this meal. The veal is a nice protein for our meal, and we have those rice croquettes as a nice simple starch so that after it's still, I mean, we finished this up pretty early. I'm going to go for a nice long walk after this today. So overall, I think this is a pretty good meal. Now, of course, our caramel nut pudding isn't adding anything but quick energy if we're going to use it up. The walnuts, maybe a little bit of those healthy fats in there, but you're not getting a ton of them. So maybe nutrition-wise, I might give this the same thing, maybe a 7, 6.5, 7 out of 10. Budget-wise, this one really is up there in price. Now, originally I was thinking, do we add the cost of the shipping and how expensive this veal was? And I wasn't going to. And then I changed my mind because everyone that I've talked to, almost people across the world, some of you that are in other countries, some of you that are in other parts of this country, no one that I have spoken to finds it easy to find veal. If I had not ordered this online, I would have had to make a 7-hour round trip drive to be able to find it. Knowing that, I am going to go ahead and say, yeah, we're going to count the shipping in there. And so just kind of cutting this in half with the knuckle, just the veal for the main course was about $50. Now adding to the rest of that, all that fat that we used a crazy amount of fat to fry all of those things in. And that Thousand Island dressing, even though we're not using it all for this meal, we made it for this meal. So I'm going to count it as part of that. Totaling all of those things up, we're looking at close to $100 for this meal. We will have some leftovers for the rest of the week, and I guess we'll call those free. But yeah, overall for this meal, we're looking at around $100. If you like what you saw today, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel so that you never miss another Sunday dinner. If you want to talk further about some of these recipes or memories that you have of some of these foods or different foods from your childhood or things that your parents talked about, join the conversation on our Facebook group. A link is in the description down below for you to join. Join us next week where we make fried chicken and find out what a poinsettia white cake is. See you then.